Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Nocturnal Sage. It's very hot nowadays, even during the night. It's really hard not to sweat. And it's kind of ironic because, yes, today, yes, right now it's evening, but it's way hotter than what I experienced early in the morning. I just noticed that in the past few days. But anyway, so for tonight, we're going to talk about something evolutionary. So to those who are interested in genetics, I think this segment will register well with you. Have you ever wondered why you exist? Well, let's can the cliche. Yes, you exist for a particular purpose. That has been repeated many times, but in a practical sense, why do you think your parents decided to make you? As in, the very fabric of your skin, your bones, your composition. Why bother spending so much money on you for your existence? Why spend so much on your education? Okay, so have you ever thought about why society is so eager to protect the little children? Yes, I think we all know why. It's because they are the future of our country. But beside that, what could be another motive? I'm going to enumerate the the known reasons why people want to have kids, and the other reason, my personal reason actually, for not having such. So let's tackle the obvious. Yes, the first reason why a couple would want to have kids is because of the security. If they have kids when the parents grow older, let's say when they reach the age of 80, they are assured that they have children who will take care of them instead of bringing them or staying inside a center for the aged. Now, some, or I think based on observation, many prefer to be taken care of by their kids, not inside a center, but in a democratic space, like a typical home. That's why in the future, when I get enough capital, I endeavor, as long as I still have my parents by the time, to buy like a cottage just for them. So that's would be my, I think, my long lasting gift for my family, an ancestral home. Yes, it seems like an ambitious goal, but just because it's ambitious doesn't necessarily mean it's impossible. The next reason is the survival of one's heritage. Yes, we have what we call in biology the genes. So if we reproduce, we are assured that our legacy will live on through our hereditary characteristics. And the third reason for wanting to make kids is perhaps to have someone to inherit one's own riches. In the future, well, assuming that my audience is composed of mostly teenagers or early adults, for your group, in the future you may worry about to whom you'll bestow all your riches, material wealth that is. And you wouldn't want such to fall into the wrong hands. So you will want a responsible human being to get these stuff. So far, those are the only reasons I can think of why a couple would want to create a new human being. Now let's go to the reasons why people would not prefer to pursue such goal, the goal of procreation. So the first reason is kind of noble. It's because some may not want to burden society anymore due to the problems on overpopulation. So in order to help society, some folks will prefer not to reproduce at all. But the second reason, which is I think only very few people would think of, is the the thought that this world is not a conducive place for, for survival. Yes, it's kind of pessimistic, I know. Nowadays, considering what's happening and considering the realizations I am accumulating as a human being, as a living creature, I just think that my prospective children would not enjoy the kind of world that we live in nowadays. I know that I still have a number of years left before I could really reach something that older persons may lecture me on, what they may call the greatest period of enlightenment. But I think even at their age, wouldn't really they cannot really claim that they have really reached that stage where they stop asking questions, where they stopped experiencing confusion. So if that's the case, life is difficult. Even if you happen to live right off the bat in a rich family, you're materially and financially you're well off. You don't have any problems, but it doesn't necessarily spare you from life's struggles. There is the struggle of identity. There's the struggle of companionship versus isolation. So in a way, I just don't want my future children, to experience these things. And personally, when I want to address the goal on ensuring the survival of one's heritage, yes, what I may say right now may offend the entire human race, or the entire race of living organisms. Yes, humans can be evil. Sounds anti-humanist, Humanism believes in the inherent good in mankind, or in the human being. But if you deconstruct that, what is good is only the ability to make someone feel more powerful. I think that is the world's definition of good. Good is anything, absolutely any form, activity, or whatnot that gives you more power, as in power to affect the kind of dream or desire that you have. And I think all religions secretly subscribe to this mindset. Because first of all, why do we rely on religion, on any belief system? It's because we feel that whenever we meditate on these tenets, we feel that we can do anything. We can overcome any struggle in life. So even the people who proclaim not to want power, they are actually hypocrites. And yes, I have been one too. It's just that I do not flaunt my will to power because I don't want others to get victimized by it. That's why I hide such will to power by pretending that I am not skilled, by pretending that I am ignorant, by pretending that I lack some political will or intelligence. Yes, just recently I've manifested such after the online inauguration of the new set of administrators in our institution. So there I was found out, so no use hiding. But let's go back on topic. Yes, that's how human beings are good. That's how I choose to characterize that kind of saying that man is essentially good. But wait, behind that goodness is the will to power, the will to dominate, to compel others to do your will. And some human beings, now this is the part where that leads me to believe human beings can be evil. Human beings will do whatever it takes to attain that power, even if it means stepping on other people's shoes. Even if it means, yes, some, we can see a lot of evidence nowadays for that. Some will even violate other people's rights just to get what they want, like killing, stealing, lying, etc. Cheating, the simplest form, basic harmless form of getting what you want. And now, look at our environment nowadays. The advent of putting up lots of concrete structures, buildings, amusement parks. What else? The spreading of false standards of beauty through media. What else? Here's the implicit evil behind institutions. Institutions actually stifle creativity because institutions as a whole need to preserve the integrity of its entity, and it can only do that by controlling the urges of its individual members. And if that's being done, then individual members will have to limit the way they want to express themselves, and usually the acceptable ways of expressing oneself is limited to what can forward the institution's integrity. For instance, if the institution believes in simplicity, then its members will not be allowed to wear anything flashy. But what if one individual member wants to do so? If that member violates the norm, then he or she may get kicked out of the institution. These are the evils that mankind, that the human being is willing to do just to preserve power. And when a human being collaborates with another, and another, and then a dozen more, then we have society, an institution that is willing to control, that is willing to destroy every ounce of freedom that an individual is entitled to. So that's the irony of the want for power. You employ means like restriction, any type of control, just to reach a certain level of superiority. And yes, superiority even over others. Yes, not just human beings, but even plants and animals can become victims too of this want for power. You know, have you heard of the endangered species list? Who do you think is the reason why these animals are slowly becoming extinct? What about the trees? Who cut them down? We have no one else to blame but us. Yes, some biology fanatics may say that it's due to natural selection. But based on observation, most of the time, okay, yes, human beings may not be the sole reason for their extinction. There are other factors like the organism's ability to adapt to the environment and ability to evolve. Yes, that's true. But what about the species that could evolve and adapt properly to the environment but cannot adapt to our actions, to us, to the human beings' actions? They place these animals in the zoo for display, others in the circus for skills development. They use the whip to train these animals instead of really educating them, unleashing their potential in the way that they ought to unleash them, not to show off their skills to serve human interests. You see, that's the core of the human evil that I'm speaking of. Through literature, human interest is always paramount. It's always the most important. And even if I'm a human being myself, I think it's not only human interests that should be thought of. What about non-human entities? Aren't they living too? I don't intend to be an animal rights advocate, but I am just exposing what is often forgotten, what is often overlooked, the evil that mankind is willing to do and to become. So good and evil, if good exists, then so does the bad. So that's why I believe human beings should never be labeled as good nor bad. Now, why am I still making this my reason not to reproduce another human being? Well, simply because I believe if we want to end all suffering in this world, we do not kill. I am against killing because I believe that I don't have the authority to end someone else's life. Let it end by itself. Or let that life be purged by a non-human force. I think that is the legitimate way a human being can die. But I am not willing to reproduce anymore because I am afraid that my future offspring may not be, as resilient as I am. And usually that's the case. I've heard of the I don't know if it's true, but I've heard of a biologist. I think he's a biologist because he talked on genetics. If you want to reproduce smart people, you really have to get the genes of super dumb folks. I think it has something to do with gene combination. But anyway, I'm not saying that's true. But whether or not it is, I still don't want to produce another human being because in an evolutionary standpoint, I believe human beings should eventually cease to exist, and there should be a higher form of creature that should be born through whatever means. But human beings, we have done so much damage to the environment already, and we can see a lot of evidence: wars, illegal logging, pollution, etc. And all of these, they are controlled by one negative pattern, and that is self-entitlement. So that's actually my ultimate reason why I don't want to add to the procreation group, because I think this world doesn't need us human beings to you know to continue living, though some will advocate against that. But me and a few folks maybe who would resonate with my talk, yes, in a way, human beings ought to stop existing and be replaced with better creatures. And then the cycle will go on. I think that's really the cycle of life. It's not really glamorous. It's not about perpetuating the existence of a particular creature. And I think this is such rare knowledge, rare claim to admit objectively that even I am a human being. I have been gifted with such high faculties of a human being, yet I myself renounce it. I think this is the reason why I'm able to do great things. because I've graduated. Yes, speaking of graduation, congratulations to those who just graduate. I've also graduated from that self-entitlement I have spoken of. We human beings are not really are not the top of the world. And until you unlearn that, okay, until you learn that and accept that truth, you will, I think you will be restricted from maximizing your potential. So, on the whole, it's still our choice if we want to continue procreating or not. There are many people already who are hungry, who are in need of love. And at the same time, people will still want to produce more human beings and make them susceptible to such suffering. Count me out. There are many and not there are enough human beings to save nowadays. And if ever there would be a reason for me to change my mind, well, I think that will only come when I become the last human being on earth. Or probably it won't come at all. I don't know. That's how life gets back at you. You imagine a certain you attach a certain meaning to life, and then later on you discover that that meaning is deceiving, because in the first place the meaning was merely created by that sense of entitlement. But if you want to be freed from such confusion, I think we should not aim to find meaning, but rather, nor should we create another meaning to appease our intellectual appetites. I think the best way is just to live until, you know, you subconsciously evaporate from the world of consciousness. So what about you? Will you still pursue your plans for reproduction if you are planning to? Well, just let me know through the comment section below. And if you got moved, if you got struck, feel free to express your contentions. I would appreciate it if you can turn this channel into a haven for meaningful discourse. So even if I know that this meaning making is temporary, well, at least it's the way that I want to live my life. And probably later on, since yes, the thought that human beings should cease to exist is also, this thought is also limited and temporary, maybe there's a chance for me to change my mind. Well, that's just what I think about society nowadays. One theory that I have though is this: if our country, if I get to experience living in a country in which there are no more hungry people begging for alms on the street, there are no more news on corruption, there's no more illegal logging, and in general, in my daily interactions, no more of this false sense of self-entitlement, maybe, just maybe, I'll change my mind. So thank you for watching another episode of Nocturnal Sage. Yes, as the days go by, the topics get dimmer and dimmer. Yes, it's nocturnal. It's what this channel stands for. So what could be the next conversation about? What would be the next conversation be about? If you have suggested topics, just let me know as well. So see you, and thank you again for tuning in.